Yep, there's something wrong with that one. Not the usual way to start a video, but I took this out of the box and I hear this thing going on inside, so I'm gonna open it. A controller that I had a couple of people bring to my attention before and I never picked it up. It always kind of looked cheap to me, which is not necessarily a bad thing if it works, but one thing for sure is I'm gonna get rid of that whatever thing is floating inside. So there are 2 springs that were loose. Well, the good news is we can already confirm that this is using a ribbon cable. There you go. I got one. Finally, I got it. Okay. Now let's replace the rest of it all, put it back together, and no longer hear that rattle noise that was about to drive me crazy. All the buttons work. No more rattling. The coil is back. We're ready to start. I took a video. The box was all banged up, so no wonder that a coil came undone. Came with this instruction manual and a USB-C cable, which was only power capable, no data supported, which is identified by those orange pins. This is a cooler, right? And the best way to describe it is similar to, you know how you put certain creams and your skin feels normal, but then you blow some air on it and suddenly it feels super cold. It's kind of the same thing with these coolers. They don't really do anything special until air comes into play. And that's what these fans are for. Because there is an airflow, how little it may be, it makes that material, because it's something ceramic adjacent, something metal adjacent, I don't know the composition of it. But what I can tell you is the second that there is wind involved, it gets really cold. One thing I like with this cooler is that it has this spring which helps applying some pressure on the phone that it's going to be connected to. Right now, I have my Red Magic just playing this very graphic intensive demo on loop to get some heat going so that we can test the performance of the cooler a little later. All right, let's talk about the controller. The ergonomic is on the smaller side, but it's not unpleasant. It feels quite nice, fairly mushy, not really a rapid action kind of membrane for the face buttons. They are engraved with the letter. They follow the standard layout. Here for the D-pad, we also have a membrane. I'd say a little bit stiffer, but for the most part, it's also not an extremely pleasant type of membrane. It's a lot more like the old cool controllers that we had, and we've come such a long way. You know, cheap feeling. It feels like mushy. It feels like you would push very hard on the D-pad over time because it felt as if it wasn't actuating. It's kind of what that membrane feels like. Not to say that it's not going to actuate. That's probably going to be just fine. The sticks, the tension is very springy. Yeah, kind of cheap feeling stick. They have no texture whatsoever, but they do have a rubber that sticks fairly well to the skin, similar to what we had with like the DualShock 2 for PlayStation. So that would be the PlayStation 2 controller. I feel like it would rub off over time, but you could always put a stick cap to prevent that from happening. We have switch shoulder buttons. I did not expect that somehow. We have switch shoulder buttons. That feels quite nice. They click from fairly everywhere, but they have this longer travel time at the edges, whereas in the center, it feels like it has less travel time, but it clicks just fine. We can hear it. We have that audio feedback. The shoulders feel shockingly good. I'm pretty sure that's a membrane as well. Definitely a better quality membrane than what you have on the face buttons and D-pads. If anything, I wish we would have had those kinds of membranes on these buttons. This is not analog. The sticks do click. I forgot to mention that. These buttons are tactile. These are very loud tactile buttons. And we do have 2 paddles in the back, which are also tactile. And they have a latch mechanism that prevents you from clicking them. A surprising feature on a cost-efficient controller. We have the fan, and right here we have a USB-C. It doesn't stretch that wide, so this is really a phone exclusive controller. This is battery operated, so we'll go ahead and put the iPhone here, and keep in mind I'm not testing the actual temperature just yet. I just want to show you what it looks like with this is the iPhone 15 Pro Max Fold 4. That's what it would look like. Unfortunately, it kind of wiggles a little bit, but that would potentially be a pleasant controller for a fold. One, because you can have it standing upwards of the actual controller. You also have these little curved edges at the bottom, so if your phone has those curved corners, it will hold nicely. Let's go ahead and power it. I believe that's the button. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it found it. There it is. Let's go. Okay, so let's jump. Oh, it has vibration. Huh, I did not know that. Okay, so it has a rumble motor, so that's nice. We have a Nintendo Switch mode, an Xbox mode, and then a Bluetooth Android Direct Play mode, which would be for mapping. Quick annotation, the controller does work on the Switch. It doesn't have gyro. It does have rumble and it works. It's not HD rumble, and it doesn't wake up the Switch. So you have to be on the Xbox mode to be allowed on the tweaking app. So here we can change, I see that we can address keys, we can have macros, we can remap buttons, okay, rapid tap, so that would be a turbo, I guess. Let's see, triggers. We can adjust the curve, surprising considering the price point. Okay, so these are definitely digital triggers, which that's fine. And then rumble intensity, which we can address as well. Oh. It kind of feels and sounds like a well overdriven haptic motor. And then settings, okay, so we have language. Okay, so it doesn't let us address polling rate or anything like that. All things considered, with the extremely low price point that this is, the fact that we have an app to do these kinds of configuration is honestly quite good. So I have a small USB-C to USB-C. Can I fit it and see if that powers up the fan? Of course, if you have a cable with an external outlet, you could use that. But if you want to power through your phone, which could be convenient, you know, of course it's going to use some battery, but you would still have the option to do so. However, the thing is, you need to have enough juice coming out of your phone's port. And for example, I just did it with the Red Magic, but if I do it with this phone, it doesn't want to work. So it's not getting enough juice from the Fold 4, so that's not working. Let's try from the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Okay. So you want to hold this button for a couple seconds, like 2 seconds. Okay, so the iPhone does it. And then when the fan is turning, you have that LED and it's just rotating, and that thing immediately becomes super cool. So that works. I don't know what is up with the buttons, but why is that pause? It's hard to judge. It is by no means a great D-pad, but it does work better than I thought it was going to. Again, it's bringing me back to these older controller D-pads, but the thing is, those old controller D-pads, when you were like fresh out of the box, they would work fine, but they would deter fairly quickly compared to what we have nowadays. Is that going to be the case here? I don't know, because they used to have like this thin layer of grease on your membrane buttons before. I'm pretty sure they don't do that nowadays. But yes, it kind of feels like I would expect that to happen because it's so reminiscent of those older D-pads. But the truth is, I have no idea how it would perform over time, and I don't expect to be using that controller long enough to find out. But I'm not missing a whole lot on my Dragon Punch and Hadoukens. And that way, it's not unpleasant. And then when trying to hit the diagonals, that's also not a problem. Man, I need to remap the buttons. I don't know why this is tight. This bothers me. Quite frankly, it's not an unpleasant D-pad. If anything, the struggle here is more the ergonomics. That I feel is going to be what the struggle will be. But I will say this, if you are looking for something to play retro games on a phone that you're trying to repurpose for emulator purposes, and you're looking for a cost-efficient controller that will give you a pleasant D-pad, as long as you don't mind it being under rather than over the stick, that will be a lovely D-pad for platformers, especially when thinking retro games. I was kind of ready to bash this thing to the ground, but the D-pad is a massive positive. I can't believe I'm saying this, but yeah, it really has that nostalgia factor. Yeah, it's a good D-pad. Anywhere between B+ and A-. Shocking, really shocking. I did not expect that at all. We're back to this. 70, 80 Celsius. This thing is hot. Just like me. No, stop. Every time I open this game, it's like showering me with gifts. I don't care. I don't care for gifts, my dude. This is definitely not an inner, small, progressive growth stick. It's very much aggressive. So if you are an aggressive stick kind of player, you might actually like it. To me, it's more, it's a mix of everything. You know, it's like the feel of the rubber. There's like a whole lot happening here, which makes the stick not necessarily the most pleasant. But again, I'm trying to remember the price point. I think this is like 15 USD. And at 15 USD, anywhere between 15 and 20 USD. At that price point, I'm like, you know, it's not so bad. Especially if you've never experienced telescopic gaming. If you are trying to find out if that is going to be for you, don't use this as a reference of how good it can feel, because there are a lot of controllers that are infinitely better than this one. But if you're on a budget and you're trying to see if this is something you could like, putting your phone and a controller, well, this is not a bad option. Or maybe you have a wired controller like the Galileo G8, and you want something that you don't have to worry about taking off your case and you're just trying to like do a little bit of gaming here and there before bed. I think that is actually a great option for that. It's Bluetooth, so you don't have to wonder about, oh, is the USB-C gonna connect with the case on? Do I have to remove the case? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Yes, if you wanna use the cooling effect, the case is gonna come into play if you don't have a cooling case, but you can also just not care if you're trying to do like a quick run of Dead Cells kind of thing. All right, well, guys, I would say that the sticks, the vibe I'm getting here is similar to what happened with the D-pad. It's not the best, but it's honestly manageable. Like for some reason, despite having a very aggressive inner curve, I was able to easily adjust. Now, there is probably aim assist that comes into play when it comes to that, but I'm tempted to say that maybe the latency is being very good. I don't know why it's giving me that result. It's doing better than I expected it would. I'm gonna go ahead and close this. Man, that phone is piping hot. Okay, so looking at the phone, this is what we have. This is the back of the phone. And we can see it reaches up to 52 Celsius degrees on the hottest parts. And where I am here, which is pretty much right down the middle, that is the hottest part. We're looking at 50-ish. Just look at the vents real quick. Yeah, about 50 as well. It's a little cooler, but still hot nonetheless. Like, that is a phone that is definitely too hot to be held. And on the actual sensor, it's telling me like 80 Celsius degrees. Now that it is connected, I should be able to power it. Oh yeah, okay, the fan is definitely running, I thought, because this is cool. We're talking 5-6 Celsius degrees. Yeah, this is cool for sure. And then it's getting hotter at the back where the fan is running.
5 minutes later.
Looking at my sensors, we have gone down by anywhere between 10 to 11 Celsius degrees, which is definitely a welcome drop. And because we're able to power this from the phone, that's actually a very neat feature where you can leverage your battery to be able to power your fan. By doing that, you might increase the Celsius a little bit more, right? Because that means you're taxing your battery I still think it's a better solution because you're able to do it on the fly. I guess the front part of the phone feels about the same. I'm getting about 5 degrees less because we were at 51, 52. Right now we're around 46, 47. While holding it like this, I'm just gonna push the controller out and let's have a look at the phone. Yeah, so that portion is a lot cooler. We were getting 35, so that's almost a 15 Celsius degrees that it cooled down on the portion that the cooler was touching. The cooler, which is still quite cool, not as cool as it was earlier, but it's still quite cool. Yeah, it went up by about 10 Celsius degrees. So it definitely was working, and it's already starting to heat up. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the cooling works. No problems there. The cooling definitely works. So the last thing for me to do is look at polling rate and performance, which I'm going to do on the PC. I haven't done it yet, but I'll put the numbers and let's jump straight into the conclusion. Is it a perfect controller? No, but it's really hard to not see the value that it has. And I did not expect to feel the way that I feel about this product right now. It's decent. And I would look, if you are approaching this market space with a no budget kind of approach, like I just want the best, no, just no, that's not the product to give you the best that the market has to offer. You want something on a budget, or you want to see if that market space is for you. If you like strapping your phone to a controller, or you already have one, like a Razer Kishi Ultra, Galileo G8, like something you already like and you want something extra to have the cooling, to have that portable small form factor. Yeah. Think of it this way. I would probably favor this over a backbone. That tells me a lot. We have to supply a battery, so you will run out of juice from time to time, so you have to remind yourself to keep it plugged. But if you are cooling it using your phone, it will charge it at the same time, so it's never really going to be an issue either. I mean, for the most part, I think it's a lovely product. If it was a 50 USD, run as fast as you can and never look back. But for 15 to 20 USD, that's a better BSP D3. Yeah, you know what? That's exactly how I should approach this controller. If I try to think of other products that have similar price range, I would favor this over a BSP D3. If you can get an easy SMX M05 for the same price, I would favor the M05. But if you are looking specifically for a Bluetooth and cooling controller, then this is better than the M05 because this fills a need that you would potentially have that the other one cannot fulfill. Yeah, it's actually a surprisingly good controller, honestly. I wasn't sure if I was going to make this video, but I kind of need to get my energies back up. So I needed something that I felt was going to be easy. I'm always about giving praise where praise is due, and this deserves praise. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please consider doing all the YouTube things, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.